Jesse Katz is one of the most dynamic winemakers of his generation and also recently named Wine Enthusiast Global Winemaker of the Year. As founder and head winemaker of Aperture Cellars and Devil Proof, he brings a very global perspective shaped by working with some of the world's most iconic estates and translating that experience into wines that are both critically acclaimed and deeply expressive of place. And at his core, Jesse approaches wine as both a craft and connection, something that is meant to be shared, experienced, and felt. So I'm talking about you like you're not here, but here you are, Jesse.
Wonderful to see you. How are you?
It's so nice to see you. It is, this old Healdsburg connection is so fun to bring it into other places in the world.
For sure.
So I am really excited for this conversation and let's get right into it because
All right.
I know a little bit about your story, having known you for so long and growing up around some of these really iconic vineyards and seeing this all through the lens of your father's photography and then going on to build something that is so distinctly your own. I would say it feels like you've always really understood wine not just as a product, but as something that is really creative and has a lot of emotion tied to it. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. So not just
Absolutely.
wine as an industry, but wine as something that brings people together in a way nothing else can, right?
Couldn't agree more. Amen.
Well, let's start then with where you sit today, because I think it's a really interesting vantage point. So we've mentioned a few times you've grown up with deep respect for wine culture, but we're also living in a world today that is really redefining how people connect, how they spend their time, and even how they think about what belongs in their lives. So as you, if you don't mind me saying, someone in your 40s, how do you see our generation relating differently to wine than the previous ones?
Well, it's a very interesting time, and I think like wine, I've always thought of as tied to food and tied to culture, and it's really interesting to see this shift because, to me, growing up, I was introduced to wine, like you said, through my father. I'm first generation winemaker. Grew up as a kid in Colorado who thought I wanted to be a professional snowboarder, and realized I wasn't that good. And was introduced to it traveling the world and getting to see how different regions, different countries, different parts of this planet all tied in wine into their food and to their culture. I think you have to step back, look at how wine has been used in cultural places like throughout France and Italy and so on, and in a very healthy way and in balance with food. And I think a big thing that people are not talking about of how wine can be used and should be used, and how certainly I use it, you use it in our lives, is a social element. And there's a huge benefit in the mental health portion of this, where people, and especially the younger generation, so maybe not the folks like us in our 40s, but the younger generation that might just be getting into experimenting with alcohol. It is a very competitive space in that area right now, and you have alcohol seltzers, which was a non-category even 10 years
Mhm.
ago, craft beers, craft spirits, non-alcoholic cannabis drinks, mushroom drinks, and everything in between. And then a large portion of the population in the younger generation that's not going out as much, that is on their phone a lot more, that's not using wine or whatever it may be as a social lubricant to get out there and talk to people. And so I think that is the huge benefit, and where wine is such a key part of my life is these very memorable parts, whether it's with my wife, my family, meeting up with friends, is having a great meal, opening up a nice bottle of wine, and having that part of the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And being, your very, very interesting segue into wine. Do you remember, like, do you have memories of a young kid observing? You said wine wasn't part of your life necessarily in Colorado, so then you go to Tuscany and Bordeaux and Burgundy, and are you seeing things that are kind of blowing your mind about how people are coming together about wine over wine? Or
Yeah, for sure. Like when my father's first book was in Napa and Sonoma, and I was, I think, 8 or 9 or so, and I was super bored because everyone was talking about it. No one was offering it to me. His second book was in Burgundy, and all of a sudden, wine glasses started to show up in front of me at 12 years old, and I was encouraged to take a little sip and smell it and kind of taste it with the food. and again, very much introduced to it as part of the culture and the food of the area. And it was not this taboo thing that we had in the United States of this is booze. Oh, be
Mm.
careful of it. It was, yeah, taste a little bit, try a little bit. And kind of that sense of place was really installed in me because I would go out and take photos with my father in the morning and sunset. That's usually when he likes to take photos. And we would get to taste wines from those vineyards where my father was taking photos from. Burgundy was a great region. The white wine's almost always Chardonnay, red wine being Pinot Noir. But the same grape from the same region, from the same winemaker, can be so vastly different from one village to the next, or even a few rows over. And so, sense of
Mm.
place was always really fascinating to me. And then how they would tie in food, what grows together, pairs together. I
Yeah.
certainly see it throughout different regions of France and how culinary has been really tied into that region and what is ripe that day, what is harvested that day on the food side of things, and how that ties into the wine. And not that you can get, green avocados year round. Like you really kind of tie into the seasonality of foods and then how wine is a part of that journey. And often those culinary icons and dishes are really tied into what pairs well with those wines in that area as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love the phrase. It's so true. What grows together goes together.
Yeah,
When you think a little bit more like personally, maybe about your own friends, your peers, maybe people like you and I are outside of this because we love wine so much already, but people that you know, I mean, everybody, right, is balancing careers, families, very full lives. What are some ways that wine can actually show up today that is just, part of real life? It doesn't have to be aspirational, right? Like what are some ways that you see that happening or you could see that happening if it's not already?
I think the biggest for me is, we are all living such busy lives between professional. I have two small kids. I travel a ton. And I think it's very important to kind of make sure when you are home with your significant other or your children or whomever it may be, that you can be present there and you're not always just staring at a device in front of you. And a big thing is when, I think one of my favorite moments throughout every single day of the week, when I get the opportunity to come home, open up a nice bottle of wine while cooking a meal and getting to catch up with the family. And I think that is,
Mm,
split a bottle, even if you don't finish the whole bottle, put a cork in it, come back to it the next day. But it is always a way for us to kind of unwind, get to catch up, get to kind of bring the family together around the kitchen table. And I think that is, a really, really healthy way for people to kind of reconnect. It calms everyone down. You can kind of relax a little bit. And, we're having a glass or two a night. They're still waking up early in the morning to get a workout
mm.
in before work and working nonstop as well. And so it's not slowing me down at all. It's kind of it's calming me down from the craziness of the day.
Yeah. And I love that idea that it can be as simple. You said just standing around in the kitchen. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't, it's wonderful to have wine at a Michelin star restaurant and all these things, but it can be as casual as your kitchen counter. And for me, it's
totally.
like when we are busy, in order to have these times for connection, they have to be something that feels a little bit more like, okay, I can do this every day. And absolutely, you can stand around your kitchen counter every day and catch up with your loved ones.
Absolutely. That's such a powerful thing. And wine does that. It, like you said earlier
Yeah.
on, there's no other thing that I can think of that really brings people together like that. And you're able to sit down and connect and kind of, I don't know, take a step back and slow down a little bit.
Yeah, because it naturally creates a moment. It naturally creates a pause. Like
Yeah,
otherwise, you're not going to stand at your kitchen counter and pound wine. You're going to take it in. You're going to talk to the people that are around you. Like, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, you're not sitting there taking shots of wine.
Exactly. Well, something we talk about a lot in our campaigns is that wine isn't just something that you consume, as we've been saying, it is something that you share. So, from your perspective, what are we missing right now, maybe as an industry, when it comes to helping people just connect with wine in this way?
Well, I think that's an interesting point because I think key thing right now is we're trying to tie in experiences behind wine. And that can be as simple as sitting around the kitchen table and having it, or to a Michelin star restaurant. But also, let's think of broader than that. And how can we get wine more involved in like live music and festivals and
Mm.
bigger gatherings, smaller gatherings, and everywhere in between? Because it definitely, to me, has its place in all of them. And I the companies and the brands and the wine stories that I'm hearing that are of the positive nature is how they're intentionally bringing wine into these spaces and having
Hmm.
it as part of the experience. Or if you come out to wine country, or whether it's your local wine bar in New York, or if you're coming out to Healdsburg and getting to visit the wine country, how can you have an experience that is immersive? Maybe there's a tie of education into there, but also it's just about the experience and getting a better understanding of a sense of place, a sense of time, which wine captures so well, and tying that, oh, how does that work with food pairings? And maybe there's a food class that you, or a cooking class that you can take with doing that, and how you can kind of tie it into these different experiential moments, and then tie that back into your normal life as well. And maybe it's not always you're going to be sitting at this amazing venue, drinking a great glass of wine, watching, your favorite band at Bottle Rock, or sitting next to a Michelin starred chef cooking next to them. But you can bring all these different experiences and play loud music at home while opening wine and
Yeah.
dancing in your living room. All right, hey, I did learn that one technique of how to, cook the pasta a little bit different way from that great chef, and bring that back home as well.
Yeah, I love that you call that out because that is the beauty of an immersive experience. You're learning something without really even realizing you're learning it. You're just having a
Totally.
fantastic time.
Well,
And I
and what's
think,
so powerful about wine too, like especially most of the producers that certainly you're talking to, but the producers that we run into at the grocery store here, or the small family farmers that we all know and love so well, like we are really focused on farming, on sustainability, on doing what's best for the land. And these are vineyards that, I walk the vineyards daily with my two young kids and Allison and my dogs. And so we're really trying to make sure that we're passing this off to the next generation, and hopefully the one after, in a much better spot than when we took it over. And I think wine is one of those unique ones that we've always been so focused on, the farming and making sure that we're doing what's right for the land, because it shows in the glass. And if you're doing the right
Mhm.
thing in the vineyard, it makes it so much easier to make that wine that much better and fine tune it in the winery. And what we're doing is in agriculture is at a very, very high level. I don't know any other agricultural commodity that is farming and is focused on the land and sustainability and all these different elements. Regenerative is obviously a huge one that we're really starting to focus on as an industry. What other industry are you looking at that has that?
Yeah.
Hops, the beer industry is not doing it with hops. The cider industry is not doing it as much with apples. Like, this is really a setting a whole new level of detail in farming, because we are able to put this into a product that can capture a little bit more money, and we have to with the way we farm things.
Yeah, but I think too, just thinking, you're so right. Like, especially an agricultural product that can only be produced once a year. I mean, who invests that much? What other industries into the farming? But that speaks again to how special of it is. So to the area as well. It's right. It's not just you are absolutely investing in producing a fantastic bottle of wine that you can, promise to your consumer. There's not what's in here. It's grapes, maybe a little bit of sulfur, some oak. Okay. But in terms also of taking care of the community that it comes from, it's like you're giving back to the land, to the people, to the generations, and such in a way that is, I can't think of other sectors of business that do that in that way.
No, completely. And as you know, like, this whole area is based off of the economy of wine, from the hospitality and
Yeah.
the restaurants. It is all based off of wine. So you're so right. Every time you buy a bottle from your local producer, it's all going back and feeding into that community. And yeah, that's another great point. Like, what other product that, if you had a product list, there'd be like one other ingredient, and the small amounts of sulfites that we use, much smaller than you would find in your bag of trail mix or dried
Yeah.
fruits or anything. There's a few hundred items that people have in their household that have much higher sulfites than wine does. And the other thing that I want to touch on too is, with the fads that kind of come and go, one of the things that I think is starting to happen, because maybe there's a little bit less culture around wine in the United States. I think we're starting to build it, and we certainly have a lot of opportunity to improve it. But the kind of natural wine movement, which to me is fine. Any way people get into wine is great. A lot of people get introduced to wine through wines that they wouldn't want to drink today. And I remember, the Boone's Farm to
Yeah.
the back wine. However you get into wine, so be it. What I don't like is the dialogue around this natural wine movement that most wines have sugar, which is, as we know, is completely false. Most bottles of wine, unless you're trying to make a port or a dessert style wine or a sauterne or something that is intentional in this way,
Hmm.
but most wines, especially from the top producers or small producers, have less than 1 gram of sugar in the entire bottle. It is why it is wine, because all of it turns into alcohol in a very natural way. And they're creating these false narratives that wine is sugar and filled with additives and stuff. Maybe for the large producers, but for most of the producers out there, not the volume, but the volume of producers, this is not a thing. And I think
Yeah.
that created a false narrative that I really disliked with that movement.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So when you think right now about, inviting new people into the category, what do you think it is that maybe what message should we be giving them to help them realize, how to everything that you're saying, all of these maybe false narratives, like what is something we can be doing to help people understand this is a farm to table product. This is a way to connect with loved ones in a meaningful way. It's not necessarily always fancy, but it is always meaningful.
Well, I think you can take the natural wine movement and just spread it across, because most of it, all my wines that I make, all fall within the natural wine.
Yeah.
There's really no regulatory thing behind it. So yeah, I think wine is natural, and let's just kind of transition that it's a small sector, which is completely false. To most of the wines that we're making are natural wines from a certain place and made in a very intentional way. And I think that bringing just more education and notoriety, or sorry, more education and understanding behind
Mm.
the product line. And I think what there is an opportunity in this generation, and what we can see for the next generation moving forward, is people are very inquisitive and want to know more about the product, where it's from, how it's made, all these things, which I think is a great thing. I think that's wonderful. And there might have been this little bit of I don't know, a wall or skepticism of being able to ask, because you didn't want to feel stupid or feel dumb from the previous generation. That it was this like,
Hmm.
you either had to be a master sommelier or don't even ask any questions. Um, Break down those barriers, have people come in, have people ask more questions, and do not turn it into this snooty element. Do not make people feel stupid for asking questions. The more I know about wine, and I've dedicated my whole life to it, the more I realize I know nothing about wine. And it's going to be a lifelong journey for me, as it will for someone who is following my career path, or someone who just likes to drink wine on the weekend with friends. Like, there's so much to know. There's so much history. There's so much amazing elements about this. Break down the barrier. Do not make people feel stupid about asking questions, and bring more people in. Be more inclusive.
Yeah, I think that again goes back to the beauty of the immersive experience. Like, I think I
Yeah,
speak another language, and when I think about ways that I've learned that language just being in it versus ways that I've learned it like sitting down in a classroom, it's like, gosh, first of all, I take so much more away when I'm in it. And then second of all, it is like just the joy of communicating and speaking to people. And I mess up all the time. Italians, no. They always compliment my Italian and then I say thank you. I mess up constantly. But
I do that
wine
in
is the
English,
same.
Barbara, so I get it.
But it's just about sharing something together, right? And like for me, wine is also one of speaking Italian is one of those things, but wine is one of those things that is like it's I'm connecting with people in a way that I can't think of being able to do otherwise.
Totally. No, and it's so true. And like, if you are fortunate enough to know about wine, or have some great wines in your cellar or wine fridge or wherever it may be, someone who comes over your house who might not know anything about wine, open up a fun bottle of wine, or maybe open up a couple
Yeah.
ones, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know anything about wine. I'm good." I feel like, all right, here's a Cabernet and a Pinot Noir from Sonoma County. Let's try and see what the difference is, and just start to kind of, dip their toe in the water, because as once you get an understanding of how special and how unique this industry is, and the professionalism behind the folks that are really doing it right, you really take away a lot of gratitude and understanding of how much work it goes into and how beneficial it can be for everyone.
I love this idea. I feel like we should have some kind of like KPI, like, hey, once a month you got to invite somebody new over and introduce them to wine.
Well, so many of my friends who are not in this world, but who work in other industries or my age or maybe a little bit older, were introduced to wine through maybe their boss or their parents.
Hmm.
And, they got a new promotion or were taking out clients and they started ordering wines. They didn't know anything about it. And so they wanted to make sure at their next business meeting they knew a little bit more. And so they started doing a little bit more studying or tasting and all that kind of stuff. Like that's how people got introduced to wine. And that might be happening a little bit less this day and age.
Hmm.
And so find new ways of connecting with people in and outside of the industry and showing a little bit. You don't have to go like, full classroom study,
Right, right,
but give
right.
them a little glimpse of what makes everything so unique and special within each individual bottle of wine.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to ask you because you're in a really unique position. You've worked at the highest levels of the industry. You've built your own brands. You've influenced culture from both collectors all the way down to people just discovering wine. How do you think about your responsibility, not just to your own projects, but to the broader wine category?
It's a tough question. I think I just really focus on um, fine tuning my art, fine tuning my craft, and tying it into storytelling. I think it's a key part of all
Mm.
branding, and maybe why a lot of the industry is really having a difficult time right now. I think there was a lot, or there is, and maybe there's a level of correction that's happening within the industry because a lot of people were telling the exact same story and selling a very similar product. And very intentionally, I wanted to do something a bit different in different regions and focus in a different style and plant varietals that are a little bit unique. Like I'm planting Cabernet Sauvignon in the Russian River right now. Most people thought I was nuts doing that. For those who know in the wine industry, it's much more famed for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And focus on my art and tie it into that storytelling element. I think that's a key part, but also collaborating outside of the wine space. And I think that's been a really key thing for me is looking for other thought leaders and other industry leaders in vastly different industries and how we can kind of collaborate on things and make it a more of a cultural moment and not just purely tied into the small bubble that sometimes we live in the wine space, which is an amazing bubble, don't get me wrong, but it's important for us to expand beyond that and to be able to tell these stories in a lot of different formats through a lot of different people's voices than just
Yeah.
mine or just people who are the wine critics of the world.
I love this. So first of all, first you said that you try to always hone and improve your own craft. Love that. But then also this idea of partnerships. Again, with
Yeah.
wine brings people together, it can also do so in business. And I know you've had some pretty, throughout your career so far, pretty incredible partnerships that have done really exciting things for wine and for you, right?
Totally. Well, and I truly credit that to getting my name outside of just the wine space and having
Yeah.
a much larger presence outside of people that will read Wine Enthusiast every week or follow your local wine critic. Because there's a lot of people that in this busy day in life don't have time to sit and follow Jeb Dunnick or read the Wine
Hmm.
Spectators of the world. And so how do you kind of break into their dialogue and understanding and maybe they're really fascinated about music or car racing, and so we've done a lot of different collaborations in a lot of different space again to get a different voice of people talking about why wine is important to them.
I love it. I love it. Well, as we kind of wind it down, I want to bring it back to kind of this idea for me, what I won't put these words in your mouth, but magic and connection, because it's really at the heart of everything we do, right? And you mentioned before, there's a lot of beverages out there, a lot of options, but wine is different. It carries history, place, people. I find it still kind of shows up in the most human, everyday moments. So, my question, very long-winded, is what is it about wine to you that makes it irreplaceable?
How long do we have? There's there's really no other thing, certainly beverage like that. There is that unique tie between food and wine. There is no other beverage in my mind that has that unique parallel and the unique experience that you put both of them together, and both of them are better when paired. And you have such a wide versatility of wines, from high acid aromatic whites to big rich bold reds to port styles to sauterne styles to, of course, the brilliance of sparkling wines. So you have all these different kind of unique things to understand that all started and came from a grape with a very, very focused manipulation through the human element. And it ages, it changes. It's a living thing that is extracted from these unique parcels throughout the planet. There's only certain areas that are really well suited for it. So there's such uniqueness to it. And I think why this is a level of correction maybe and not a cultural shift. I think I know wine has been around for thousands of years. It will be here a lot longer than both of us, Barbara, and will continue much further, and will continue to evolve as well. And if you're out to a nice meal, you're out to a steak dinner with your family, you're not going to replace, I don't even know the seltzers, the high noons for a nice bottle of wine. Wine to me is always going to have a integral part of culinary and of culture, and I hope it really kind of will evolve. And I think there's a great opportunity for us in the United States to really write that next chapter, because I don't think it has really had that full identity. I think pockets certainly have, and there's the best wines in the world are being made right now. We have so much more better understanding of the land, of the winemaking, the viticulture, all these different processes. So truly, and also California is a very young wine growing region. We're just now figuring out what grows best where, in my opinion. And so I think there is a great opportunity for the quality of wines, the professionals that are in this, that are so focused, to help write a bit of that next chapter of what wine can be for our culture in the United States. And hopefully it's tied into food and eating better food and eating more local food as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying don't get discouraged. It's upon us, especially I'll call us younger. Sometimes I don't feel very young. after an 11-hour flight. Yeah. After an 11-hour flight yesterday, I'm like, ooh, am I young? But it's incumbent upon us, don't get discouraged. Keep telling the story. Keep, reminding people, especially we know what people our age are interested in. So we can help push the narrative forward in a way that meets them where they are.
I think there's an awesome opportunity for our industry. Lean into the storytelling, be more inclusive for a generation that is going to be more inquisitive, wants to know more about all the different processes, from how it's grown, where it's grown, how it's made, how to pair, all these different things. And remember, everyone has a computer at their hands at all times. So you can't BS this stuff. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. But tie it into storytelling, tie it into knowledge, because I think that will be a key part of what people lean into. Because once they find out how special, how unique, and how beneficial wine can be, moderation, of course, in people's lives, and really how it can help mental health for a lot of people. Let people connect, put your phones down.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a key part of the next cultural movement for wine in the United States.
Hear, hear. Well, thank you for all that you're doing to drive it forward.
Doing my part, one bottle at a time as well.
One bottle at a time. Well, Jesse, I really appreciate you so much making the time. I know you're a very, very busy individual, so yeah.
Right back at you. Well, thanks for doing this right after an 11-hour flight. You look fresh. I don't know how you do it.
My pleasure. That's because it's still daytime. At 5 o'clock tonight, don't ask.
Have a glass of wine and go to bed early.
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you again. I hope I get to see you in person very soon. I'm sending lots of hugs.
Right back at you. Cheers to you and your family. Talk soon.
Cheers. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.